Hello, welcome back to Club Football and welcome back to you as well. I'm Adrian, back again with the weekend recap, here to guide you as we surf through the various top leagues in Europe. And of course, with the return of the Champions League this week comes the return of the watch-along. So make sure you join us for those. Quarterfinals should be fun. There were some big matches in the Premier League, and even though it was just over 2 months ago, it must have felt like Groundhog Day for Tottenham supporters, as they saw their team give up points from a winning position once again. And it came up against Newcastle United, of all teams. A Newcastle side that needs all the points they can muster as they try to fight off relegation. But for Spurs, a brace from Kane, he moves into 8th in all-time scoring in the Premier League, and then giving up their lead in the last 15 minutes of the match, and they tie 2-2. According to this stat from the Spurs Express, they have dropped 13 points from winning positions this season in the final 15 minutes of the Premier League matches. That's a poor habit to get into. Speaking of habits, Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea had a damn good habit of not conceding goals under the German manager. Until they met tricky Sam Allardyce. Thanks in part to Thiago Silva's early accumulation of cards, the Brazilian marked his return with a 29-minute red card just 2 minutes after his team had gone ahead 1-0. But what followed was shocking. I mean, you wouldn't expect this iteration of Chelsea to collapse like this, but they had to trip up eventually, and they tripped, and they fell flat on their faces, and then they got trampled after that. It was bad. 2 goals in the first half stoppage time from Matheus Pereira put West Brom ahead, and as the Brazilian continued to dominate Chelsea, he went on to pick up 2 assists in a 5-2 win at Stamford Bridge. Incredible collapse from them. Not a good look ahead of their match against Porto this week. Sheffield United aren't mathematically relegated yet, but they certainly seem relegated in spirit, at the spiritual level. I mean, their match against Leeds wasn't that bad, but Leeds was in one of those kinds of moods. They moved the ball around Sheffield United with ease, and really should have had more than just the 2 goals. 2-1 win for Leeds. Sorry, this episode needs to be brought to you by Claritin or something, because my allergies are crazy right now. All the snow melts in Montreal, and Adrian gets it bad. Aston Villa went down against Fulham, as it looked like Parker's boys were going to steal one on the road, but Villa stormed back to get a 3-1 victory. Trezeguet came off the bench to score a double in the second half, his first and second of the Premier League season, surprisingly. Manchester City went away to Leicester and were quite impressive, as you would expect of them, taking on one of their top rivals in the league, the team that gave them a drubbing early in the season. City more or less coasted to their victory. Leicester couldn't lay a glove on them in that first half especially, and while the second half was much more even between the two sides, Fernandinho with a decent performance in midfield, 35 years old, alongside Rodri. Arsenal and Liverpool followed the script of most Arsenal and Liverpool matches over the last few years. I mean, with this Liverpool side this season, you never really know what you're going to get, but they were dominant once again against Arsenal. The kind of controlled performance that has been rare this season for them. After a goalless first half, once Liverpool got their first goal, you could feel their confidence growing by the minute, not to mention the killer instinct that Jota brings to that front line. Jota made a run to the back post as Trent Alexander-Arnold's perfect ball really led him there, dropping between 2 defenders to bullet the header past Leno. Then Salah scored a vintage Mohamed Salah goal, getting him behind Gabriel, beating him for pace, then nutmegging Bird Leno to make it 2-0, and finally the trio of Salah, Mane, and Jota combined to make it 3-0. The Portuguese attacker getting his 2nd of the match and 8th of the Premier League season from just 13 appearances for Liverpool. For club and country, actually, he scored 6 in his last 4 consecutive matches. 3-0 Liverpool the final. And Manchester United went up against Brighton, a Brighton side that had won 2 consecutive matches coming into this game, and things started brilliantly for them, as Welbeck had his initial attempt saved by Henderson, but he tucked away the rebound to give the Seagulls the lead for the entirety of the first half. United labored a bit in this match, but they found their equalizer when Bruno fed the ball to Rashford after an hour, and a mishit from Paul Pogba fell to Mason Greenwood to head in for a second for United. 2-1 victory there for Solskjaer's lot. By the way, I did a big video on Manchester United recently. It took a ton of research for this one, a deep dive into why there is so much vocal opposition to United's owners, the Glazers, how the Glazers pull money from the club, even during a pandemic, and more. I tried to make it easy to understand as I partnered with a risk analysis company called Risk Vision for this one. Do check that video out. And so that win coupled with Leicester's loss sees United move up to second, 14 points behind Manchester City. Liverpool, West Ham, and Chelsea all sit on 49 points, with West Ham boasting a match in hand. Everton, they still play today, and they could hop up into the top 4 still as well. In Italy, we saw Inter take a huge step toward the Scudetto as 2 of their closest rivals managed to stumble once again. First off, we have Juve playing in the Turin derby against Torino, in which they had to come back from 2-1 down to get a 2-2 draw thanks to goals from Chiesa and Ronaldo. Another underwhelming display from Juve up against a Torino side that is in a horrible position, at least. Maybe not horrible form, because to be fair to them, they've put in some much better performances lately. But there can't really be any excuses here from the Juventini. It's been the story of their season, I guess, at least of late, where they haven't looked at all convincing. Then there was AC Milan looking wholly uninspiring as they went up against Sampdoria. And you know what? This was an exciting side that they were able to field, besides perhaps Castillejo, who I don't really rate, but the rest was solid. Solid but not clinical enough to win this match despite being a man up for most of the second half. That said, credit to Ranieri's side as the first half was theirs, but they just couldn't hold Milan off in that second half. I mean, it doesn't help when you're a man down. 1-1 the final. Atalanta hosted Udinese, and despite Nahuel Molina setting up 2 for the visitors, the Colombian connection of Luis Muriel and Zapata provided the goals for Atalanta, 2 assists also for Ruslan Malinovsky, and a 3-2 win in a highly entertaining match. 5 goals. Just looked right into the light. Stupid idea. A bit of a rumble to end the Lazio versus Spezia match, a match that saw Lazio just come out on top thanks to a Caicedo penalty in the 89th minute. 2-1 there. Bit of handbags at the end, Correa and Lazzari getting sent off. Hey, we call that passion, man. Napoli won 4-3 over Crotone, a 7-goal thriller as bottom of the table Crotone are trying to go out with a fight here. A 3-2 loss against Lazio, a 3-2 loss against Bologna, and then this, a 4-3 loss against Napoli. I mean, they sort that defending out, and they'll start getting some of these results over the line. But the question is it too late for them at this point? Because they are currently 9 points from safety with 9 matches remaining. I just don't think it's going to happen. But hey, could be a great turnaround. Could be a fun story. Roma's putrid record against some of the better teams in the league continued, showing that their stinky performances reach as far down as against teams, in the 9th place region. Granted, Sassuolo was capable of a little attacking magic on their day, but man, Roma just feels like they are capable of better. Or are they? I mean, looking at their squad, perhaps they aren't, but I do feel like Fonseca is a brilliant manager. Mind you, at the same time, you can say that he also has to take part of the blame for their record against the top teams in the Serie A. 2-2 in this one. At least it wasn't a loss, but they are really dropping out of the top 6 fast now, especially with the form that the likes of Napoli are in. And Inter won against Bologna this weekend as Lukaku was the hero once again for Inter. Truly a banner year for him. The man is dominant. Not his smoothest goal ever, as it came off of the keeper, the post, and then Lukaku with a little tap in. But he got into a great position for that header that was initially saved. Fantastic save, by the way. And it would have been a brilliant goal. Bastoni robbed of an assist on that one. 1-0 Inter the final. So Inter Milan currently have an 8-point lead over AC Milan, but they do have a game in hand. Win that, and they have an 11-point lead over them. Look at Napoli climb. They'll jump over Juve soon if Juve don't watch their backs. The big failure from Simeone is almost complete this season, as he and Atletico Madrid have continued to go backwards with poor performance after poor performance. This weekend they took on Sevilla and lost 1-0 thanks to a stunning attacking move from Sevilla that Acuna finished off with a driven header past Oblak. A handball in the lead up that wasn't called back. The referee thinks it was a different sequence of play, I guess, but that aside, might I remind you, Atletico Madrid could have been 13 points ahead at one point in the season, and now they are 3 points above Real Madrid. Real Madrid, by the way, they won 2-0 against Eibar this weekend as formation watch continued for us here at Rabona TV, and Zidane went with that 3 at the back formation, with Mendy playing as one of the 3 center backs alongside Nacho and Militao. Not sure Militão will get the nod against Liverpool as Varane was rested, but Mendy could get the start in that position as, of course, as you know, Sergio Ramos is out injured. Asensio and Isco started tucked in behind Benzema as well, and both of them saw some success. Asensio with a goal. Villarreal have found their form again. They have won 3 matches on the trot, marking it with a 3-0 win over Granada. No easy feat as they beat their fellow Europa League quarterfinalists. Moreno with 2 goals in 18 minutes, and then a second penalty for him in the 60th to round out his hat trick. He scored 19 goals in 24 appearances for Unai Emery's Villarreal this season. Valencia and Cadiz had an ugly incident in which there was an alleged racist remark from Juan Cala of Cadiz towards Mukhtar Diakabi of Valencia. Great to finally see a team walk off the pitch in solidarity with their teammate, as Valencia did, as well as the referee actually believing and taking the side of Diakabi. Valencia's players did return 25 minutes later as they were likely told that they would forfeit. And Diakabi told them that he wanted them to go back out there and represent the team. He was subbed off for Valencia, while Cala was subbed off at the half for Cadiz. Cadiz actually scored in the 88th minute to win against Valencia, who only would have returned to the pitch because they need the points to keep a buffer between themselves and the relegation zone. Cadiz are now on their heels. Not much else I can offer at this time as we don't know much about the incident. I mean, the reactions from Cala himself and his teammates do say a lot in my opinion. Not to mention the statements from Cadiz that said that those who are guilty of racism, quote, must pay whether they are on our team or not. So we'll see what happens there. Celta continued to creep up the standings as they got a convincing 3-1 win away to Deportivo Alaves as they absolutely blitzed Alaves in the first half. Nolito and Iago Aspas having their way with them, Aspas having a hand in all 3 goals. Barcelona plays today, so the standings look like this. Atletico on 66 points and Real on 63. Barca on 62 could move within a point of Atletico with a win over Real Valladolid. The battle for top 6 will be a fun one with Betis, Villarreal and Real Sociedad all in the mix. And speaking of Real Sociedad, they really are finally the champs, not the future champs, as we have been calling them for about over a year now. Copa del Rey champions for the 2019-20 season after they beat Athletic Bilbao 1-0 in the final. That is taking place like 12 months late. I mean, how else could Real Sociedad win this match then? From a penalty from Mikel Oyarzabal. But man, that's a huge win for Real Sociedad as they best Marcelino side in the Basque Derby final. Luckily for Bilbao, they get a second crack at it in 2 weeks for the 2020-21 Copa del Rey final against Barcelona. So Real Sociedad will be champions for about 2 weeks, which is unfortunate for them. But hey, congrats to Sociedad. Congrats to Imanol, who showed his passion in the press conference. I'm sure you saw that clip. Well deserved. Le France, where you'll find perhaps the best title race in Europe at the moment, at least in the Big 5 leagues, as they call them. And it got even better this weekend, unless you are a Lyon supporter, in which case it got worse for them following their 1-1 draw with RC Lens this weekend. Lens in 5th place, by the way. That's 3 matches in a row that they have dropped points, and when it's so tight up there, that can be costly. Dimitri Payet grabbed a couple of assists en route to a 2-0 victory for Marseille over the basement boys Dijon. Marseille still have a genuine shot of taking 5th, but that's about it. They've fallen way too far behind to make the top 4 now. AS Monaco got a 4-0 win at home against Metz, another great result for Kovac and co. Cesc Fabregas, a name I feel like I haven't said in a very long time. He scored the opener from the penalty spot in the 50th minute. Then 2 minutes later, Kevin Volland made it 2-0. And as the half wore on, Wissam Ben Yedder scored his 14th and 15th goals of the season to move 1 above his teammate Kevin Volland. And still 5 behind Mbappe in the goals race. Speaking of Kylian, he and his PSG teammates had a massive match this weekend against their main title rivals, Lille. And despite PSG playing at home against Lille, they were unable to find their footing at all and truly break down the Lille defense. A frustrating match for them as Lille offered almost nothing going forward, especially after they scored the opener in the 20th minute. Who else but the incredible Iceman himself, Jonathan David, Canada's own, to score what would be the winner for Lille up against PSG. 1-0 the final there, plenty of drama at the end of the match. Neymar getting, 2 yellow cards in this game for arguing with the referee, sent off, suspended just when he'd come back. PSG dropping points against their main rivals again. So Lille go 3 points clear at the top, while AS Monaco will not let up. Just 4 points behind Lille with 7 matches remaining. Lyon dropping points in 3 consecutive matches sees them in 4th. Some things will never change, and after this weekend, it seems as if the Bundesliga champions will be one of those things that doesn't change. As Bayern Munich went up against RB Leipzig without Alphonso Davies, Jerome Boateng, and Robert Lewandowski, and still got the win. After Thomas Müller had said this week that they had lost Robert Lewandowski, but they still had Leon Goretzka. It was Müller who set up Goretzka for what would be the winner in this one just 7 minutes before the half. RB Leipzig was a much improved side in the second half, but Bayern showed that they are capable of suffering, holding Nagelsmann's side at bay diligently in that second half and seeing out a win with tough conditions. A huge win that really put some distance between themselves and second placed RB Leipzig. Another thing that remains unchanged is Wolfsburg continuing to get great results. We got the green in the background for Wolfsburg. As they won once again with a 1-0 win over Gisdol's FC Köln, things are not looking good for Köln, as they are still stuck in that relegation playoff spot. Wolfsburg got their winner from who else? But Weghorst setting up Brecalo, as Weghorst continues to have a banner year with Wolfsburg, especially lately. The man is on 17 goals and 6 assists after 27 matches. In his last 4, he's had 3 goals and 3 assists. Borussia Mönchengladbach have strung 2 victories together this weekend. The Rosa Mob overcame SC Freiburg with a 2-1 victory, a brace from Marcus Thuram making all the difference for them. Freiburg Schlotterbeck did have a goal called back in the 96th minute, a scare for Gladbach, but they see it through in the end with that 2-1 victory. Speaking of scares, it's been a very spooky, terrifying season for Borussia Dortmund and their supporters as they once again put in a limp performance in the Bundesliga, becoming just the second team in the top 10 to reach double digits in the losses column, as they fell 2-1 at home against Eintracht Frankfurt. This team is in dire need of having supporters in the stands or something. I don't know what they need. Not that that's an excuse for them, but I do wonder how much it would have helped them in a match like this. Another goal from Frankfurt's Andre Silva, as yes, once again, he linked up with Filip Kostic in the 87th minute, and I do wonder if those two will be around next season. And so Bayern have a 7-point lead over Leipzig as Wolfsburg continue to fly up the standings. 3 points behind Leipzig now. Maybe they are the chosen ones. Imagine that would be a bit of an unexpected outcome, at least for this season. Wolfsburg and the dominance of Bayern. And I say just for this season because they did win the Bundesliga in 2009. And hey guys, that's it. That's all for this week's journey through the various leagues you care about in Europe. I'm Adrian. I hope you can join us for a watch along or some of the other videos coming out this week. But other than that, have a great day. Peace.